Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. I started my reading week with The Harmony Silk Factory by Tash. This is a novel set over the course of the 20th century in the Kinta Valley region of Malaysia. The story is about a Straits Chinese man named Johnny Lim, who rises from a peasant background to becoming a successful businessman, a high-ranking communist agent, and eventually the kingpin of the Kinta Valley. The novel is told from three perspectives. The first is the perspective of Jasper Lim, Johnny's son. Jasper doesn't have the best relationship with his father. It's not completely antagonistic, but there's a tension between the two. And Jasper aspires to write a biography of his father in an attempt to, I think, better understand him. And so Jasper's section, the first section, is a basic biography of Johnny with interjections from Jasper, suppositions, also hints of Jasper's own childhood and youth. Jasper's section ends in 1997, around the time shortly after Johnny's death, when Jasper meets an elderly British expat named Peter Wormwood, who decades earlier was a close friend of Johnny's. And Peter gives Jasper a bundle. This bundle is the diary of Jasper's mother, Snow, who writes about a traumatic vacation that she and her husband and several others take shortly before the Japanese invasion of Malaysia in 1941. And this section gives a different perspective of Johnny than what Jasper has managed to recollect from his own experiences with his father, as well as what he can glean from the public record, and also Johnny's more contemporary friends. The third section is also set in the 90s, shortly before and after Johnny's death, and is from the perspective of Peter when he's in a nursing home and dealing with issues at the nursing home, and then reminiscing back to his friendship with Johnny back in late 1941, and it gives another perspective not only of Johnny but also of the events of this traumatic holiday. I really enjoyed The Harmony Silk Factory. I gorged on this book over this past weekend. I read 260 pages, the first and second sections on Saturday for 260 pages, and then the final 100 odd pages on Sunday, the Peter section. And I loved it. It was amazing. I really enjoyed Jasper's character. All does a really good job of his complicated feelings for his father and his kind of not quite being all that good of a scholar. And I also really enjoyed Snow's section and Peter's section, and the characterizations they both get as obviously the events are narrated from one perspective and then the other, and how the two perspectives are sort of compared and contrasted. It was really, really interesting. And there are several parts of the novel where I was surprised. And also, I like a lot of the foreshadowing that is peppered throughout Jasper's section. I think the one flaw I would have of this novel is that Jasper probably should have had made a return to the narrative at the very end. Not as he does, but the Jasper that meets Peter after his father's funeral. To sort of kind of go over, kind of so that that the reader could see him learning more, these new perspectives on his father than what he's already had, and see how that changes him. But this was a fantastic novel, and I'm really looking forward to reading more Tash. I also read Chronicles of a Village by Nguyen-Hoang, translated from the Vietnamese by Quyen Nguyen-Hoang. This is a weird novel about an unnamed village in central Vietnam from an unnamed narrator who refers to himself as the lowercase I. And the novel is told in fragmentary stories that are at times both mythical and at other times very historical. And it's very, very interesting. So I really enjoyed it. Although I don't really have much to say about it. I just enjoyed it. I also read some volumes of poetry. I started with a long overdue reread of Bridled by Amy Meng. This is a good collection. I rather enjoy it, although it is not one of my favorites. Next, I read Terminal Surreal by Martha Silano. These are poems dealing with coming to kind of learning and grappling with and coming to terms with one's mortality. And they are amazing. I really enjoyed this collection. And I especially enjoyed Killing Orpheus by Forster McClatchey. This collection is wide-ranging. It is harkening back to older forms of poetry, and it is amazing. I really enjoyed reading this collection yesterday. Expect in the coming weeks and months appearances from both Forster McClatchey and Martha Silano in Poetry Thursday. So, moving on to what I will be reading this final weekend of May. I am going to try to bail or redeem After 1177 BC, The Survival of Civilizations by Eric H. Cline. So, I had originally wanted to read After 1177 in January as part of Historathon. Historathon is a year-long booktube event in which participants read history over the course of the year. There are 4 quarters divided by time period. However, if you've been following along with me for any length of time, you will know I have, over the last few years, my interest in history has waned. And it has become increasingly difficult for me to enjoy reading history. It's become a slog. And an example of that would be back in December, I reread Weavers, Scribes, and Kings by Amanda H. Padani, a history of the ancient Near East that, when I first read it several years ago, I really loved. But coming back to it this past December, it was not as enjoyable. It was a slog. So, yeah. I mean, and this happens. I've talked about it rather frequently that I do have taste changes. And it's just something I have to live with. I can't really force unification or a more holistic reading life. Anyway. So I had to go at this back in January and did not get on with it. And I originally said that I was going to redeem this in November, which I do hope to have as nonfiction November. That I hope I'll be able to read just nonfiction this coming November. But we shall see. I might change my plans. But I decided to go ahead and try to redeem this at the end of May because I have the time. And nothing else is really pressing. So bill redemption is my term for giving another look at something that I have previously bailed on. Now, depending on how After 1177 goes, I should finish it tomorrow because I'll start it today, determine what I want to do. If I decide I don't want to continue on, then I'll bail on it again and find something to read on Saturday, which will leave Sunday free for my May manga haul, which I just hauled in the previous video. And then I will do a separate manga wrap-up of them on Sunday. So my last video of May 2026. So in between the two, if I do decide to bail on After 1177, I will probably read some poetry. I don't know if I will try to get to Duo, which was part of my original plan for May, or read something else. I will report back next weekly reads on how that turns out. And my reading plans for the rest of the week, the beginning of June, I will talk about on Monday. Monday is the 1st of June. I will talk about them in a June reading plan video, which I need to start working on. I mean, I already have what I want to read. I might be insane and add one more book because I'm already on about 11 books that I want to read for June. And I might be just crazy enough to add some more. And I need to decide whether or not I want to keep with separate, like moving those books from where they are to a special monthly reading plan shelf so that I can kind of take the books off. And I do like to see me working them down, but I also don't particularly like seeing the books kind of tilted over for several weeks. That kind of bugs me. So I need to figure out what I want to do with that. And hopefully I will be able to do some tag videos and some discussion videos because I really want to do those, even if they are a bit difficult for me to do. But anyway, I need to go ahead and upload this video, put the books that I've read for this week up, and go put my May book haul on the bookshelves because there are 30 books that I have to do. Anyway, BookTube, until I see you this Sunday, thank you, have a great rest of your afternoon, and have a great weekend.